The judge placed a sealed envelope on the desk. She opened it, read one sentence, and my parents' faces went white. "Hi, this is Family Showdowns Daily. We read real stories about how families break and how people put themselves back together. Names and details are changed. Today's story is from a woman whose parents tried to take her house through the courts. But a letter her grandfather left changed everything. Let's begin. My name is Emily. I'm 29. The house we're talking about smelled like fresh bread and apples. My grandpa built it. A carpenter, a baker, and a stubborn soul. He repainted the porch every spring and hand-turned the window frames. As a kid, I was sure wood was alive. With Grandpa, everything in his hands came to life. My parents. They always loved telling people the right way to live, just never how to pay for it. Dad was an entrepreneur in the launch phase forever. Mom, a master of sudden expensive ideas. Grandpa bailed them out a lot. Money with no IOUs because we're family. When I turned 24, Grandpa had a minor stroke. I was renting a room in the city, working at a bakery, studying nights. That day I realized, it's either me or no one. I moved in with him. Mornings were meds, afternoons physical therapy, evenings learning to slice bread thin without tearing the crumb. My parents visited rarely. Their projects were always on fire, one after another. They came on holidays, took selfies, posted stories, and said, "Em, you're doing great. Hang in." Grandpa stayed quiet, then one day said, "Stop excusing people who only need you when it's convenient." A year later, he had his speech back, but his left hand stayed stubborn. I took remote gigs to stay near. We talked a lot. One day, he asked me to drive him to a notary. "Grandpa, is everything okay?" "It's fine. I want it to stay fine after I'm gone." At the notary's, he made a will. I didn't know the details and didn't ask. He only said, "The house has to live. It's yours. If anyone gnaws at you for it, remember, wood rides out storms quieter than people." 2 years later, he passed. Quietly, at night. I sat in the kitchen listening to the kettle cool. Funerals are when whispers feel heavier than screams. My parents were themselves. Lots of right words, then quickly to business. Who gets the house? The proper way to use it. I said there was a will, and the notary would decide. A week later, the notary read it. The house. To me. Dad exhaled, put out like a scolded kid. Mom said, "That's just for now, right? Family doesn't split things." I didn't argue. I knew the argument would start by itself. It did. On the 40th day memorial. "Emily, we talked it over," Mom said, pouring tea into Grandpa's old mug like nothing had changed. "The house is big. Too much for you alone. Here's the plan. Swap with Lisa. She and her husband and baby are cramped. You'll move to the city. That's better for you anyway." "It's Grandpa's house, Mom. He wanted everyone to be fine," she cut in. "And anyway, we have a family decision. A family decision is when 3 people decide for the 4th, and the 4th still pays for it." I refused. Calmly. No yelling. I saw Dad's face. The one I knew from childhood before a serious talk. "We invested in you," he said. "How many times did we lift you up?" "Grandpa lifted me up, Dad." "He is us," Mom said. They left, slamming the gate. 2 days later, Lisa, my younger sister, called. "Hey, we're coming this weekend to measure the rooms." "What rooms?" "In the house. We'll take the master. You can have the small one facing the apple tree. Nice light in there." I hung up. Then I texted, "No. I live in my house. There's no swap." She replied with one word, "Selfish." Mom walked in with 2 giant shopping bags. Behind her, Lisa, her husband, and the baby. Then Dad with a tape measure. "We won't be long," Mom said. "Just mapping what goes where." "You don't have a key," I said. "How did you get in?" "Grandpa gave us one," Mom answered. Like that explained everything. Then it was fast. "This wall gets a wardrobe. Crib goes here. Emily, you're not attached to the kitchen, right?" I asked them to leave. They didn't. So I called a local officer I knew. The conversation was cold, the incident report clinical. My parents gathered their bags and left. Lisa cried. That same day I changed the locks. Dad texted, "Playing politics? Make sure you don't lose." A week later, a court summons. My parents were suing to invalidate the will and return the house to joint family property. Grounds: undue influence and doubt about the testator's capacity. I read the document and thought, people have short memories. Documents don't. I hired a lawyer, Megan. She promised no miracles. Her first question was, "Are you ready not to avenge, but to defend?" I nodded. Revenge means living by someone else's script. We gathered everything. Clinic records on Grandpa's condition on the day he signed, the neurologist's consult video, receipts for meds and rehab, photos of him signing his carved window frames that same month. The notary confirmed Grandpa came in by himself, spoke coherently, and that there was an envelope he'd left to be opened only if contested. I learned that by accident. Megan just said, "Good." He was thorough. Meanwhile, my parents cranked up the pressure. Around town, people whispered I was obsessed with the house, stealing space from a sister with a baby. Lisa posted stories. Some people choose walls over family. I chose silence. At night, I sat on the porch, listening to the wind in the wood. Grandpa said, "Quieter." I listened. And for the first time in months, I wasn't afraid. Courtrooms always smell like paper dust. My parents came with a confident lawyer who spoke loudly and smiled with his eyes. They looked textbook. Grief, concern for the younger daughter, pure intentions. The judge, a woman in her 50s, listened without nodding. When Megan started, the room got quiet. No decoration, just facts. The plaintiffs asked to void a dead man's will. We have medical documents, notarial marks, and proof of caregiving. We also request to open the sealed envelope the testator left with the notary for this exact situation. The notary stood. He placed a brown envelope with a wax seal on the bench. My heart jumped into my throat. The judge looked up. "Any objections?" My parents' lawyer shrugged. "It may be manipulative." "We'll see," the judge said evenly. She carefully opened the envelope. Inside, a letter and a flash drive. A letter from the testator. And a video file, the judge said. "We'll do the letter first." She read aloud. Every word landed like a nail into a plank. "If you're reading this, my will is being contested. I, Nicholas Peterson, born in 1948, have not lost my mind. I passed the necessary exams. I built this house for a family. But family isn't people who divide walls. It's people who hold your hand. Emily moved in when things were hard. My son, Robert, and his wife, Nancy, were busy with projects then. I hold no grudge, just stating facts. Over the last 15 years, I gave Robert and Nancy significant sums with no IOUs. Let them not confuse generosity with obligation. I leave the house to Emily because she kept it like it was alive. If they try to challenge my will, remember, every axe leaves a mark. That mark is on the flash drive. It holds my video, recorded at the notary's the day I signed. The judge plugged in the drive. The screen flickered. There was Grandpa, hunched but clear. He spoke slowly, firmly. He stated he understood what he was signing, named the date, place, the doctors he'd seen. He told how Mom once left him alone an entire day because of a meeting, how Dad brought the wrong meds after mixing up the pharmacy. He didn't accuse. He listed. At the end, he said, "Robert, Nancy, if you're watching this, stop measuring love in square meters. And if the court asks, yes, I left the house to Emily. Not because she's convenient, because she's here when it's inconvenient for everyone else." Silence. Mom stared at the table. Dad stared out the window. Lisa cried softly. Their lawyer tried to regain ground. "Your Honor, the video could be staged. The grandfather might have been under the granddaughter's influence." Megan stood, calm. "Your Honor, here's the neurologist's note from that day, plus the notary's attestation of identity. Also, medical records on the testator's condition. We move to admit them." The judge flipped through the documents, removed her glasses. "I have no grounds to find the testator incapacitated. The letter and video corroborate a knowing, voluntary will. Court will recess before the ruling. 15 minutes in the hallway. In those hallways, time doesn't pass. It leaks." Lisa came over and sat beside me. "I didn't know," she said. "About the money. About all of it." "It doesn't matter now," I said. "What matters is what we do next." They called us back. The judge read, "The court denies the plaintiff's claims. The will stands. Costs to the plaintiffs." Then she looked at my parents and added gently, "Sometimes being an adult means admitting you're not the center of someone else's kindness." We stepped outside. Windy. Mom yanked her scarf tight. "Emily," she began, "you do understand." "I do," I said. "The house is mine, and the door is open to anyone who comes without a tape measure." Dad said nothing. Lisa hugged me. I don't remember the drive home. I remember standing on the porch, looking at the apple tree. For the first time in months, the house wasn't a fortress. A house is where you don't have to prove you're allowed to breathe. I framed Grandpa's letter. In the video, he smiled at the very end. I replayed that moment again. Wood rides out storms quieter than people. I laughed and cried. "Grandpa, the storm has passed. Thank you." Sometimes a family decision isn't about family. It's about pressure. Love isn't measured in square feet, and it doesn't need a lawsuit to prove it. If you've cared for a loved one and been made to feel guilty for it, you're not alone. Tell me in the comments, who was in the wrong here, and why? And what do you think about letters from the past? Is it ethical to protect your will this way? If this story hit home, please like, subscribe, and check out the Inheritance Fights playlist. New story tomorrow.